Number 5. Andrew Jackson. The 7th President of the United States, Andrew Jackson, was in office from 1829 to 1837. His net worth, in 2016 dollars of course, would be $131 million. Jackson is considered to be the founder of the Democratic Party, and even though he was said to be in touch with middle-class America, he certainly didn't qualify as common folk. Jackson not only married into money, since his wife Rachel was from a wealthy family, but he also made money in the military before becoming president. Although he's said to have entered into considerable debt towards the end of his life, Old Hickory, as he was nicknamed, did own 1,500 acres of prime real estate that was part of his homestead, known as the Hermitage. Number 4. Theodore Roosevelt. The 26th President of the United States was in office for 2 terms, from 1901 to 1909. Theodore Roosevelt, like his 5th cousin, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who would later become the 32nd President, was from a very wealthy family, and therefore came with a hefty trust fund. In 2016 dollars, his net worth would be estimated at $138 million. He wasn't always rich, though, because he lost most of his money on a ranching venture that went bad in the Dakotas and had to work as a writer for a few years to pay his bills. Later on, Roosevelt spent the greater part of his adult life in public service, which isn't the best way to become rich. But his 235-acre estate called Sagamore Hill is now considered some of the most valuable real estate on Long Island, a posh suburb of New York City. Number 3. Thomas Jefferson. Number 3 is also our number 3. Thomas Jefferson, one of the founding fathers, was in office exactly 100 years before Teddy Roosevelt, from 1801 to 1809. His net worth would be around $234 million in today's currency. He inherited 3,000 acres of land and several dozen slaves from his father, and later acquired Monticello, the 5,000-acre plantation in Virginia that is stamped behind Jefferson's face on the American nickel. As you might already know, Monticello, the building, was considered one of the great architectural marvels of its time. Jefferson also made money in different political positions before becoming president. But like many of the commanders-in-chief, he got into a lot of debt towards the end of his life. Number 2. George Washington. The country's first president took office in 1789 and was re-elected to a second term in 1793. The famous Mount Vernon, Washington's Virginia plantation, which consisted of 8,000 acres of prime farmland and was run by more than 300 slaves, was a considerable asset all its own. But George's wife Martha also came from money and inherited property from her father. So, all things considered, Washington's net worth in 2016 dollars would be estimated around 580 million smackaroos. Interesting fact, Washington earned a lot more as president than the guys that followed in his footsteps. Apparently, his salary was 2% of the total budget of the country in 1789. Number 1. Donald Trump. Although the newly elected businessman has yet to release his tax returns, the 45th President of the United States, Donald Trump, will be the country's first billionaire president, leaving all his predecessors in the dust as far as net worth goes. So even if there is a lot of speculation as to how rich he really is, or how many financial failures have eaten into his personal fortune, 24/7 Wall Street, a respectable USA Today content partner that provides financial news and commentary, estimates that Trump's net worth as of 2016 would be anywhere between $2.6 and $10 billion. And even though most presidents leave the White House with less money than they had when they came in, since the Donald's companies are supposed to be taken over and run by his children, while he'll be the most powerful man in the free world, his 4 or 8 years in the White House might not be as hard on his finances than they were on his predecessors.